guess I better go ahead and I guess I better go ahead and do this because a lot of people are talking about this anime, Rising of the Shield Hero, showing damage of fake rape accusations. Now, a lot of people have brought up a lot of more stuff that happened, and it's getting to the point where the anime community is really, questioning this, because this is something that I don't think is really an issue at all. This is a non-issue to the point I don't know why people would put this on blast over an anime. Like, seriously, this anime has not really done anything, but in perspective just becomes a big issue. As much as I hate to say this anime, I actually really think this anime is okay. And I'm going to give you my honest review about this anime. After watching this anime, the theme of this anime is about trust, because I actually watched this anime and realized, this anime is about trust. This is the issue with trust, is that people have an issue with trust. Like, I know that there's even hikikomoris in Japan that have an issue with trusting people. It's the same with the Japanese culture. They have an issue with trust. And after looking at this anime, I realized, they bring up these weird stuff about an episode. After looking at this, I'm just like, why the heck did you do this? Like, this is from Anime News Network, who brought this up about Natofune, an uncharacteristic otaku who spends his days on games and manga, suddenly finds himself summoned to a parallel universe, which is the whole point of this story. He discovers that he is one of the 4 heroes equipped with a legendary weapon and tasked to saving the world from prehistoric might as well skip that. Destruction. As a shield hero, the weakest of the heroes is not as it seems. Natofune is soon alone, penniless, and betrayed. With no one in turn to, nowhere to run, he is left with his shield. Now Natofune must rise to become a legendary shield hero to save the world. Yep. Which is the point of this whole story. But a lot of people kind of say that the content were discussions of misogyny, incel culture, and sexual assault accusations and slavery. That's what they brought up, and that kind of caused a lot of controversy over. Now, I did really like this anime for one reason, because it actually did have an interesting premise of a hero who is gonna have to change over time, being that hero. And after watching this anime, I gotta say it wasn't as bad as most people make it out to be, because it turned out, I know the reason why he had to buy the slaves, and that was the issue that they had with this anime, buying slaves, was the fact that he couldn't trust anyone. That's why he had to dig deeper in his meanness to basically, because he couldn't trust anyone. They couldn't trust him, and he realized he had to do his own thing. A lot of people, he was really pissed off on how well people treated him. He just couldn't deal with the fact that, he was betrayed by a woman named Gender. Okay, while I found out the episode to be entertaining, it makes some epic stumbles on the cost of the majority of any goodwill it builds. Unfortunately common, it's the biggest stumble block boils down to gender relation to Mei's betrayal, as Natofune involves her in falsely accusing him of rape and planting false evidence to support her claim. There's a strong suggestion that Komori, one of the other heroes who seem to be attracted to various women, and this is what they bring up the whole incel thing, framed by the narrative being responsible for the lie and cunning enough to fool everyone else. There's a lot to unpack here. None of it's good. First and foremost, the social consequences of women, and they bring up this whole issue, and then try to bring up misinformed, misandric incel fantasy. This is the type of thing that caused controversy in the anime community because of this anime. Now, I don't really think the consequences of this is that the position of Nofumi is hardened his emotions. And yes, this does, and it comes into his anger, and it boils down to the type of toxic masculinity traits. No, it doesn't. It is called trust issues. This causes trust issues. The same reason why he does not trust anyone. This is the problem with this anime, is that they bring up these low tier arguments, these really bad arguments using the same vocabulary words such as toxic masculinity, and it's like, I don't think that's the word you should be describing it, or emotions. The reason why he's angry is because, yes, do you, and I'm going to ask you a question. Would you get upset if someone backstabbed you and you felt betrayed, that you couldn't trust anyone and they couldn't trust you because of what you've done, because of that false accusation? That was the whole situation of this whole thing, is trust. That is the theme of this whole anime. And people don't understand that women can't trust men. Men can't trust, and men can't trust women. It goes both ways either way. If that weren't enough, the world of Nofumi ends up, it seems to allow slavery as a lesser demi-human entities. As he has taken a mysterious man into the back alley tent, Nofumi is surrounded by cages upon cages of zombie-like humanoids and mysterious animal-like beings available to him in the right price. That is which I even watched this anime. It ended to where he sees the girl, and I actually thought it was really interesting. Again, and it's like they gave it a D because the first episode builds tensions or the broadcasting twist before it happens. For straightforward. Now, the cons is the episode is major plot points involves women making fake rape accusations. This is what they did and gave it a D+. I would only give it a B+ because of the fact that it does have a good story. The problem is, as someone who reads the most original web novel, it's interesting the reaction to someone without any knowledge of the series. There's a number of points that you misrepresent, and yet it's easy to see how you reach your conclusion. Due to lacking broader information about the story, and particularly more details of the story of the web novel, rather than simplistic versions of the light novel the anime is based on. For example, the implications of rape accusations which led to his change in personality, which is not really the case. Rather, it was the only event that got the ball rolling, leading to a large series of events that grounded him down over time. For example, he only started carrying the balloon monsters under his cloak after being robbed and assaulted by thieves. It wasn't, I was accused of rape, therefore I'm angry. I'm an angry young man who's going to start using monsters to attack people. Similar with the respect and mechanic merchants refusing to buy from him or sell from him, leading to him sleeping in the fields outside the city and so forth. There were a host of things that led to him reaching the rock bottom and the utter lack of trust in humanity. But the anime takes a shortcut method of giving a few quick hints that happened over time because the usual runtime limitations puts basically all the heavy lifting to the rape accusation. It also is important to note that all the bad things that happen to him is not because he's a supposed rapist, as some might accuse him of using for political message, rather than because he is a shield hero, hinted by everyone's attitudes towards him before the rape accusations happen. The rape accusation is just convenient excuse to allow people to openly prejudice against him. It's the first active action that allows everyone else to think it's okay to take action against him. For then on, similar events see a silent voice. If I were to put the theme of the story, it would be bullying. It's associated trauma in the fact that they hint at it in the intro relations to Nafumi's younger brother to cover up that it's likely the reason in his life expense of being paid for. Note that the future knowledge of the author basically never goes back to Nafumi's past anywhere else in the novel that I've read. It's just really easy to see and understand the overall theme of being in the story. I suspect it's a bit more obvious than the naive Japanese, because the culture of being willing to pay to make embarrassing events go away. There might have been some valid implications from the girl bumped into him while he was walking the Lyra via this politeness in Japanese society, but I'm not entirely sure things there. Of course, more than that, there's racism, abuse, power, slavery, plus the headaches that other heroes represent, which were the only got hints of the first episode. It takes Aseka's idea that I'm in another world with amazing powers, everything has gone great, flips over, showing the world is very much statistic, probably worse than the real world, than being a hero in order to magnitude more difficult than you might fantasize about for reasons entirely out of your control. There's a lot involved with the whole slavery side of things. It touches the number of plot points going forward, though the notes that there's at least an aspect I don't like due to the overall story implications, but really it comes into play to the point I consider in the end a real story, and the beginning milk the cash cow phase of the product. Final note of that is still, it's a light novel, don't expect things out of it, but the world does have a lot more complexity to it. Of course, getting into the world getting into would involve huge amounts of spoilers. After a side note, since you mentioned ANN reviews, I've read them, and wow, James and Nick are getting things horribly wrong and painful. A massive amount of projection that doesn't at all map the actual story, except that to get to the story you have to get past the first episode. So first impression, I guess. Yeah, because I actually watched this anime and I have to agree with this guy right here, Momix, or whatever his name is. Yeah, this anime does seem to point out a lot of things, and it also goes about the whole issue about trust, because after watching this anime, you know, it does seem to support what I would say about this. I appreciate taking the time to comment, but sincerely thank you for interpreting the quote portion as I intend. I think it's likely approached the fiction in ways that I respect. I think particular case one way approach it to accept the monarchy as a face value, but society and the universe depicted. But I think the book wasn't written heavily to speculate. And this is what Jesse's. For example, one example I thought involves trying to picture alien beings might look like. Oh, okay, this is just really stupid. I tend to interpret the media more relates. Okay. I'd like to emphasize this, that you don't mind. I think the critical point, if I had a number of folks on Twitter that tell me both the king's actions and context of the monarchy and his actions, neither which made any sense to me, will make sense later. I respect a lot of those folks, and I noticed that BB here made the same point, so likely I'll keep this. However, building a new world, dramatically different ideas and our takes work. Best example I've seen recently is a book called Children of Time by Adrian Tarkovsky. It might have been the best alien civilization book I ever read, but it would have utterly believable to the part like these people. I miss a lot of the nonsense in the episode today. In my defense, I like to point out the until the point I just 30 minutes ago reading the tweet about Bordeaux, I never heard the word incel. Revising the episode idea of mine sure leaves a different impression. I've learned to associate the impossible agenda, unrealistic character actions, plot developments take Mia's actions. If 4 heroes are supposed to save the world, that could possibly justify her smearing one of those heroes, even one unsuspected rumor painted as the weakest. It makes no sense, especially in the light of the King's revelations that they can only summon new heroes if all 4 of them die. To me, the level of irrationality tells me another reason for the development. The reason is not tied to the needs of the story, but in other words, the agenda of the outside the story. I really hope I'm wrong, but I want to enjoy. But the agenda is seemingly driven, making it really hard. I debated over the term incel since it's not a hot button word. Didn't want to draw much negative attention, but the narrative seems to adhere too closely to the type of ideas. And this is the person that wrote the article. And this is what I gotta say about this anime. This is something that I'm gonna point out. This is a bad point. Not a big otaku power fantasy type of story. I really did think it was one that started kind of interesting. You are wrong. I could spoil the whole story for you, and I refuse. Out of risk assured, her actions are justified from her point of view, which does not make her a good person, though. Same for the King. So, because the series didn't seem like my kind of thing before the review, I decided thoroughly to spoil myself. The protagonist and the audience do eventually learn what the heck Mine was thinking here, and why she was confident a confident chick would not rebound to harm her. Not having watched the episode, I don't know is foreshadowing that makes it cleaner if you're ready to know. That said, a big surprise doesn't excuse the plot point uses the first place, that the story goes in the way to justify a protagonist slave owning, being awesome, win situation for everyone involved. I suspected there was a lot to explain about Jesus Christ. An ethical conundrum, but I can imagine the scenario. Yeah, and this is something I'm going to point out, and this is something I'm going to say right now. The only reason why he bought the slave, because he couldn't find a party. No one wanted to party with him. No one wanted to be in his group, because the way it works in the storyline was that the heroes have to find their own group of people to save the world. He couldn't find anyone to party with him. And it was so bad to the point because the woman wanted to join him, then the woman betrayed him, then he had to deal with it alone. Then, of course, the guy was offered a deal to get a slave, because he couldn't trust anyone, because the slaves were... Because according to what he was told by the guy who was the ringmaster or the slave master who sells these things, he said that they're under a curse, therefore they will be loyal to him. After watching that anime, I paid attention to a lot of the story details of it, and looking at the story, he could not trust anyone. Thus, he was desperate to find someone that could help him in his journey. Thus, he had to pay for a slave. Therefore, he couldn't trust anyone, because a lot of the people branded him as a rapist. Do you understand that? That was the point of this whole story of what happened. That's what the whole point of this whole story was about him. And he had to figure it out on his own. This kind of thing kind of bothered a lot of people, especially in this whole story. A lot of the stuff that Anime News Network has done and talk about this anime is that they bring up all these issues about rape accusations and all this other stuff, and don't focus on bringing up the actual issue, because they bring it up based on the fact that they put their political ideology up front. And that was the problem with this whole controversy, because of what the Khan said. One of the episodes of the major plot points involves a woman making fake rape accusations. This is the series that allows, in this world, this allows slavery. The world of this series allows slavery. The only reason why he had to, because he was desperate to find somebody to help him. That was the point of this whole story. Thus, he had to resort to finding a slave to help him. And that character happened to be in the anime. Now, I watched the anime itself. Didn't have a problem with it. And it's like, a lot of this stuff that they did was kind of weird. After looking at the trailer, and I actually watched the trailer. And let me see if I can find the speed of this thing. Put the speed on 20. Yeah. And it is an interesting anime, but it's a shame that a lot of people are getting worked up, and this is kind of like the Goblin Slayer situation all over again. Because they keep bringing up these issues to the point that they had to complain about it and bring up these certain points that just doesn't make any sense. Vice versa, you know, they wanted to turn this into a political issue about false rape accusations, and then try to manipulate it into, it's like, this is what they said. No editorial hive mind that is trying to push a specific belief onto our audience, and yet they're using the same talking points. Many of us share similar opinions regarding certain political and artistic ideologies, true, but we respect our colleagues and our readers enough to assume that anyone reading our writing will perfectly... And this is kind of the thing. Editorial hive mind. But yet they use the same words like incel and all these other things, using the same words like oppression and all this other stuff. Oppression of victims, silence. Those are the same words that... Let's look at this one. Toxic masculinity. Words like, let's see, toxic masculinity. Let's see what else is there that involves this whole thing. Let's see. Planting evidence, false evidence to support her claim. The strong suggestion that Katumi and one of our heroes seem to the women's putting mine in the blah blah blah. Let's see here. It's okay. Atmosphere is there because the heroes of the legend don't behave in the way one would expect heroes saviors, typical anime character. No matter how surprised they were about the forcefully sucked it into an alternative dimension. Now, I actually watched this anime and realized, impression, content warning, discussions of misogyny, incel, and sexual assault accusations of slavery. Now, this is supposed to be an impression of the anime. And the fact that they brought up these issues into an anime of the impression. My idea of this is that I actually watched this anime, And the issue was trust. Not all this bullshit that they bring up about somebody. I don't really care about this whole issue, but it seems that a lot of people have been bringing up a lot of stuff. But I actually watched this anime, and a lot of people bring up the issues about the anime. I'm going to point out this issue. The issue that I'm going to point out is trust. The trust issue is pretty much why he bought the slave. And the fact that he can't find anyone to help party with him, he had to do it alone. He had to work with this demi-human beast. Even though, yeah, she's the attractive character in the storyline, he had to bring her along because of the fact, yeah, no one trusted him. And he had to do it alone with all his skills and all his struggles that he had to do. He had to do it alone. With the help of a demi-human. No one trusted him, no one liked him, no one even bothered to bat an eye at him. All they did was turn him away. That's the point of a story, and yet, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I never read the manga. I actually read one manga that I really liked, and it was The World Where Only God Knows, or something like that, or something. I forgot what the manga is, but I did not like the anime because the anime portrayed it in the wrong kind of direction, and they tried to bring it into a TV series, then an OVA, then of course the anime company itself, Galoob, is no longer around because they were wasting so much money. Even though they loved the manga, it was a disaster. That anime did not really grab an audience, even though I really did like the manga. World When Only God Knows. It was basically about a guy who let me see if I can find that anime, because I used to remember that anime was really good. The World That God Only Knows. The World God Only Knows, which was actually a pretty good manga. But the problem was the anime series based on the manga didn't do so well. Out of my experience watching this anime. And yes, I still do use Crunchyroll occasionally. And I am a user for that one. And let me see if I can log into it. Blah, blah, blah. See if I can log into this thing. Let me see if I can log into this DOS thing. Yes. Now I'm going to show you my profile. And I used to be a member for this website for a long time. I rolled in as a member since 2008, and I'm going to show you my profile. Yeah, that's me. I used to be known as Nerdworks. That's my name and everything. And I am very old. Yes, I'm a very old man. As you can see, I used to always go on Crunchyroll a lot. Now, a lot of people talk about these issues about animes, and I used to leave like a lot of like reviews and such on this website. See if I can find all my reviews. I left like 27 reviews. And a lot of these reviews, you know, I posted a lot of them. Like I keep an open mind when I post reviews, and it's like a lot of these anime reviews that I post on there. I post them because of the fact I was bored back then. Like I actually reviewed like Samurai Flamenco, Kokotan. I actually watched that anime before, and I actually said, oh, God, okay, I feel much better than. I feel the manga is much better than the anime. Because I actually put that review on there. And Hero Man I actually really did like. Heavy Metal Hologram, I did watch that one. Estrada's Toy, I had to point that out to a lot of people. I actually read that manga. And also, I actually made that review defending that anime. Because a lot of people didn't like Estrada's Toy because of the whole pedophile content. And I actually had to point out that in the anime, the guy didn't molest her or anything. He actually gave her a choice. You want to sleep with me or you want to sleep with the dolly? She chose the dolly because she was still a young girl. And I found out that she just wanted a father figure in that anime. And they turned this into some... because she's like a 10-year-old girl who in the content of it was sucking a seed. And I actually had to defend that one. But a lot of people didn't like that anime because when I said this, the harem uses to suck a man's seed. For some people, it's obviously offensive to the young girl trying to get semen from men in order to maintain her beauty. People have to realize she's a succubus, but her age kind of freaked out the reviewers for a reason. Basically, it led to bashing this anime, which I can understand. Some might be upset about this show's content, but I kept an open mind and found out the story. The princess had a dislike for men, and of course she agreed to create her own harem if a human male joins. The problem is it's hard to find one because the human world was closed and that didn't stop Princess Advisor Judith who'd gone by herself using the magic of the world tree, teleporting herself to the human world where she finds a human male named Noya Toyotus, which I actually really liked that anime. Let's see what else. What else is well liked in my reviews? Trigun. Watching this anime about a legendary criminal known only as Vash Stampede, worth 60 billion, who has a reputation to leave everything in the rubble of his crime, being too nice, and to Bernadelle insurance agents Meryl Streep and Millie Thompson follow Vash in every adventure, finding out the mysterious man's past, who he really is in the sci-fi spaghetti western comedy. It was a decent series watching back in the days myself when it first came out. I'll be honest, I did watch this on unofficial channels back in the days. I decided to buy the official box set, kept it because it was one of those animes you can't help but keep it. This anime was released back in 1988, and you could tell by the animation was produced by Madhouse, by its well-drawn style of animation. Some of you will have to understand, considering that there was many on VHS and DVDs. Currently, Funimation has and others has the rights to the series, but I noticed they didn't do a good job keeping the good quality video series. Many wish they released a Blu-ray of the anime, but it's not going to happen. Yeah, because I wanted them to release a Trigun Blu-ray, and I wonder if they actually did release a Trigun Blu-ray. Now, let me see if I could find out what happened here. Let's see. Because I wonder if they did release a Trigun Blu-ray. They did release Rumble in the Badlands, but they never released the TV series, like the Trigun. They only released the movie, which I did buy. I have the DVD of it. But they will never release a Trigun Blu-ray. That's what I wonder if they actually did. Let me check. They only have like a DVD box set. They only have the DVD. They don't release the Blu-ray. But they managed to release a Cowboy Bebop on Blu-ray series. Which pissed me off, which I have not gotten. But I did buy Outlaw Star. That's what pissed me off. Oh boy. Now, let's see. Let's see if I can remember this one. Oh yeah, Line Barrel was another one. Okay, I don't know why people liked that review for some reason. The anime is about a young protagonist, Mikaze August, and his friend Otaga Osaka, who are part of a group of children who worked for a civilian security company called Serious Security Guard, CGS. Kids were abandoned by some of the adults to fight for their lives protecting the Martian princess, Kuda and Elizabeth String, whose plans her nation to chastise. Yeah, because I'm just showing you guys my anime cred in the community of Crunchyroll. Yes, I'm not really that popular among anybody. That's who I am. I don't really post on the forums. I don't really have many people commenting stuff. That's how anime-ish I am. Because I used to be a member back in 2008 using the Crunchyroll forums. Because I originally remembered back in 2006 the whole controversy when they released the fan subs on this website. I used to remember they released fan subs of back then on this website. Let me see. Legend of Galactic Heroes, which was one of the animes they released it on this website. Let me see what else. They actually did release like the Macross music one. I used to remember that one too. I'm sorry if I can't really say much about it, but this is pretty much what you'll see here. Full Metal Panic, a blended comedy and mecha. Let me see if I can remember that one. Let me see if I can give you guys some interesting ones. Darling in the Franxx. It proves mecha genre is still alive and well in 2018. This anime attempted by Trigger was the most interesting ever seen. I don't care what anime news networks it's sad about the anime. It's said about this anime. Okay, I don't care what anime network news said. It's said. I don't care what anime news networks. Okay, I need to re-edit this because I am such a bad writer about this anime. It shows that the mecha genre is still alive and well in 2018. The setting is a post-apocalyptic Earth where giant creatures known as Calaxors are attacking, and it becomes a desolate and dying planet. To survive, that humans must live in mobile fortress cities known as plantations, and are forced to defend the plantations using children called parasites who are raised to pilot giant mechas known as Francis. They pair up with boys and girls, and the boys who are the pilots and the girls that are the control system to combat these giant monsters. Yeah, the protagonist hero who couldn't synchronize with his partner in the Franxx, they both fail to complete the training while skipping his class graduation ceremony. They fate hero encounters a mysterious girl who has red horns named Zero to when a Calaxus attack who killed his partner during a Calaxus attack. Hero volunteers because Zero 2's new partner, or Darling as Zero refers to Hero, is much it's very much a boy meets alien girl love story. I can't really spoil it. Yeah. That's how bad I write. I found out by the research looking up the mecha designer Shigeru Kamata, who is responsible for mecha designs of the Flax. It seems he borrowed some of his elements from Star Drive mecha designs to make this animation. And I give out the list of animes he made. Considering that Trigger's reputation has been known to reuse animation for other projects from the past works, I can understand the work they put into the animation and budget. They very much strive to create a story. The color and style is all right for this anime. I can't blame them for their I keep messing up. I keep writing these really bad anime reviews for some reason. They very much took old clips from Neon Genesis Evangelion, sound effects, and other music soundtracks. In the opening theme, "Kiss of Death," performed by Meika Nakasashi. It's like there's like so many tracks on this, like 6 ending themes, beautiful roll, and it's like there's so many like and 21 background tracks for that anime. And I said in my statement, the anime isn't as bad. It tells an interesting story that presents itself. The anime had one of the best conclusions of the ending worth seeing. I will say F Anime News Network for ridiculous conspiracy theories about this anime. It's nothing like they said in their articles. Oh boy, I really gotta improve on my writing skills, because that's how bad my writing skills are in this lifetime. Ugh, man, I really gotta improve. Dead Man in Wonderland. Let's see. 1 out of 2 found this review helpful. Dead Man could have done better if finished the series. If they finished, yeah, I should have wrote this right. The story is about a young boy named Kashi who lived in a normal life going to school. Jesus Christ, I really suck at writing these reviews. Oh yeah, I like this anime. It was Centralia. Okay, a certain magical index. It was a spin-off series which shares the same universe as Scientific Railgun's story. It's about a young boy named Toma Komoji who is a student at the Academy City in Tokyo. In the first episode, you will see the appearance of Mako Masaki, who has an interesting ability on his right hand to negate any supernatural power. That includes Masako's railgun ability, but the side effect also makes him lose his luck sometimes. Toma, with his bad odd luck, he encounters a young girl on his balcony at his apartment. Noticed that she was a nun. He tried to help her, even gave her food, and told him her name is indexed. Later in the series, all sorts of trouble happens when he finds out what index really is: a human library with 1,300 forbidden magical books that the Church of England magically implanted in her. From a mysterious man from a secret organization, Hunt Index, he fought him, and more trouble happens with Toma's luck. It has magic, action, comedy, and sometimes drama. Some might find this anime not interesting. I did enjoy the story. It was made by JC Staff, who are known to produce animes like Slayers, Bakuman, Prison School. The animation is decent for its time, considering it was released around 2008, and I can see they made strides to make the quality anime with their evolving style they use most of their animes. And I guess why, I don't know why people really like that anime. Out of all the songs, I do like Reminisce Fujiyuki no Saki, the ending song. Yeah, because I really am such a fucking goddamn nerd for animes like this. Oh yes, Detroit Metal City. The anime is about a protagonist named Soichi Nakasashi, who is a musician. and nice guy that loves singing Swedish pop songs. He has a secret. Sochi is the lead singer and guitarist known as Johannes Cruiser II in a hardcore death metal band known as DMC, which means Detroit Metal City. He has a problem being the nice guy and being his alter heavy metal offensive psycho persona, which is affecting his daily life, getting into situations which turn into an interesting comedy. The animation is meant to be short. The art style isn't the best, but it did emulate a style from a manga to tell the story. Music and sound effects. Some of the songs seem okay. If you're into heavy or pop songs, it features many popular Japanese recording artists covering their songs and metal style. For example, Beat Crusader, Camila Dasaji. I actually had to research a lot of this stuff to find out what they did. Overall, it was short 12 episode anime. You can be entertained by also the live action movie that was also funny, that had interesting appearances by Gene Simmons. And yes, Gene Simmons I actually really liked that movie. Even though it wasn't like the best movie ever, Gene Simmons was in the live action movie, and I couldn't help but laugh at that movie. And how did I watch that movie? By unofficial channels, which I can't say. Let's see. Ozoa Zero should have been renamed Legend of Ozoa Zero. Yeah, because the character... Let me see if I can do this. What happened? A sci-fi mecha anime will, in 1979, an ancient technology discovered on the moon, and space travel became easy, and humanity was lucky enough to go travel to Mars and discover more advanced technology. The colonists who settle on Mars become the Versa Empire later. Versa Empire declared war on Earth in 1999. 15 years later, in 2014, it has introduced the main autistic protagonist named Idaho Kazuka, who witnesses the assassination of Earth's princess during a peaceful mission to causes the Empire to launch a new attack on Earth. In many episodes, you find the princess still alive. Idaho has managed to fight back in a training model machine known as KG-6 Senpai. He managed to defeat the Martian Knights, which everyone in the military had a hard time fighting. He uses autistic tactical analyzation skills to defeat, which is true, defeat them. It's a complicated story, and that people might not understand. It does a good job to surprise you. The animation was a mixture of 3D in it, and animation texture coloring looks great. After watching this anime, it seems they made a lot of effort trying to produce a good quality anime. Sound effects are really okay. The soundtrack is very good, composed and arranged by Hiroyuki Sonowa. If I can't pronounce your name, I apologize. I believe did Kill la Kill with the help of Minago Kobayashi, who did some vocals for this anime as well. Overall, the anime is okay, but some of you may find it boring, if not into this type of anime at all. It was a decent anime that won't disappoint you. Let me see what Invaders of Urukemoja. I watched this anime, and I have to say, it's not original harem. I noticed it borrows some elements, not all of them from other shows, like Tenchi Muyo, for example. A boy living with cute girls in one roof situation, two guardian robots, a girl that goes through the walls, which it wasn't a bad anime. The anime was decent. The character development was alright. The main character, Koto, is interesting. It's a shame the series lasted 12 episodes. It was actually an okay anime. Let me see if I can find it. Martian successor Nadesco. This story is about a protagonist, Akito Takawa, who had no memory of the events that happened in Mars Utopia colony, invasion of the robotic monsters known as Jovian lizards, who attacked the colony. Akito mysteriously ends up on Earth being a Fry Cook, dreaming becoming a cook, becoming a chef. A company called Nergal started recruiting members for its new battleship. In reaction to the Jovian invasion invading Earth, known as the NDO-5 Nadesco, Akito, of course, lost his job and actually meets the childhood friend Eureka Yubitsumaru, who happens to be a captain of the new ship Nadesco. Later was recruited to join the crew as a cook, but considering that he can pilot Nadesco of Estebal's mecha combat robot, he found the courage to deal with his fears of Jovians and now goes on a crazy missions with an odd crew. This show was technically a comedy. At the same time, it was also dramatic. It was well done with the intentions to surprise you and be cheesy. I'll be honest, you might be disappointed that in the ending, which I can't give any spoilers, I can tell you it ends unfinished, even the movie had no conclusion whatsoever. There were rumors that another series was in the works, but was canceled due to some odd reasons. According to the sources, it was scrapped. The animation was good for its time, considering it was released back in 1996. I understand that they used it cell animation, and you may notice some hairs in the animation. You can tell by looking at they did in their best to make a good quality animation. It was bad. It was all right. It was bad. It was all right. I will say that I will say this can degrade, but luckily, I remember they remastered for DVD for international release. You may notice some of them have the original opening and altered openings. They released the Blu-ray version only available in Japan. They can be shown in 16:9, which I only viewed the DVD version in 4:3. If you're one of those Blu-ray high quality watchers, you're going to be sad how the price of the Blu-ray on Amazon is $300 plus shipping. Yeah, which is true because it's hard to get that Blu-ray of that anime. Because I did like the opening music by Yumi Mitsumara. Mitsuzuma. If I can't pronounce her name, I apologize. You get to Burning was good, even though the sound effects were alright. Okay. Overall, the anime is very good. Just the ending might disappoint you, which leaves no conclusion. I heard a lot of rumors about there was plans for a second series, but it was canceled. I wish they continued the series. Oh yeah, that's when I watched it. Roy Returns to Macross Zero is good. I got to say the series did disappoint to see Roy Fokker from Macross series and Macross movie Do You Remember Love. The sad part is he's not a protagonist in this story. The story is about a young UN spacey F-14 Kai pilot named Shinkido who lost his squad in a strange enemy aircraft that had transformed itself into a robot. Shin survived and was washed up on a remote island, finding peaceful natives who live on the island, and meets a woman named Sarah Nome, who is the priestess of the main island that is holding a great secret linking to them to an alien machine that would become the war zone of the UN and anti-UN with its newest secret UN weapon fighter F-Zero. The story does start off all right, but it lacks character development in some areas of the story, considering this is a 5-episode OVA series, which is true. Is a mixture of 3D and 2D anime and made perfect balance. But seeing the transformation of the FF-Zero is amazing. The quality of the animation wasn't that bad. Considering it was 3D animation they did, it was pretty good. It does sound it does a good job making a perfect sound realistic of soundtrack. It does well for the epic tragic at the same time. Kuni Kashima did a good job creating a good soundtrack. Overall, it wasn't a bad anime. It was amazing. Even if you might not be happy by the ending of the story, Let me see if I can find another one. Samurai Flamenco. Oh my god. Samurai Flamenco. Totatsu. I can't pronounce it. A tokusatsu parody. That's what it is. The story focuses on Masashiro Hazama, a male model and actor that accidentally got caught naked on the street one night and befriends Hito Goto, a police officer who helps him in his awkward situation, goes to his apartment to hang out with Hazama and tells Goto about his childhood dream to becoming a superhero by calling himself Samurai Flamenco. Later on in the story, Masashiro fights some young punks starting trouble in the street of Hazama, failed to fight them, made a long speech that became viral hit on the internet. Now he is an official crime fighter and crazy stuff starts to happen around him. Samurai Flamenco is one of those totatsu parody shows because it makes fun of Japanese superhero shows. You've seen like Kamen Rider, Power Rangers. Magloov did a good job making this series. It's a shame the Japanese ratings, from what I heard, was low. They had to rush the ending that lasted 22 episodes. It's laughable, but also sad moments in the anime which made it good. Yeah, that's another review. Let's see. Kono is worth watching, but it's not complete. A young boy named Kota Onimana or Oyamada. If I can't pronounce it, I apologize. Who is a new first year high school student transferred from a city to the country, where he meets a beautiful girl who is a second year student named Chuzu Miyamoto, who asked him to meet her alone in the music room. Confessing her love, also accidentally reveals to him that she's in fact a fox spirit, a kunsei, and all crazy stuff happens to him. This anime is a romantic ichi harem romance school life sentai supernatural story that could make you laugh, seeing how Okada tried to avoid Chuzu's lustful nature, trying to seduce him. He tried his best to look at Chuzu as a friend than a lover, because he wants to focus on his education. It's a shame the series didn't last that long. It had a good storyline. Even the OVA series, it failed to continue, which it felt it wasn't a complete story. Okay. Let me see. I really gotta improve on my stupid writing skills, because this is something that's pure autism right here. I really have to really have to do. Okay. The story is about a young. Okay, Hero Man. The story about a young kid named Joseph Carter, Joey Jones, who lives with his grandmother in Central City, California. It looks almost like South San Diego. And working at a restaurant, wanting to get a toy robot he wanted called Hey Boy, or whatever it's called, which couldn't afford, but fate would have it. He managed to get a broken down Hey Boy and abandoned in the school by the school bully. He had gone home to fix it, and a strange lightning hit the toy robot, transforming the toy robot into a giant robot that can control by a device on his hand, which Joe renamed Robot Hero Man, which a sudden alien race of insectoid beings invade Earth known as Scrug, and the only defense they have is Joey and his Robot Hero Man. The anime does seem to remind some people of Tetsuya 28 Go, because it has a kid who controls a robot with a remote control, but this one is more advanced. The only difference is it's not a super giant robot. I understand Stan Lee created the story under his production company, POW Entertainment, with the help of Bose, rest in peace, buddy, who we all know made the good shows in the past. Even you may notice Stan Lee appears in the story like in the Marvel cartoons and movies. The series really gets people hooked after watching the show. It's a shame it didn't get another season, considering the ending of the second series hinted for a possible next season, which I can't give out the spoilers. You'll have to watch it to understand what I'm talking about. It's a shame the manga ended 5 volumes, which means it feels like it's an incomplete story, which is true. Yeah, let me see. Jesus Christ, people like to send me these messages. Yes, this is autism, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very big autistic thing. That's how bad my cred is as an anime fan. Let's see. No. Episode, if you insist on people reading this. Now, if anybody wants to ask, what's my honest review about this anime? I don't think it's a bad anime. I'm not gonna be politically motivated by the issues that these guys at Anime News Network brought up, because frankly, I watched the anime itself and it's not like it's a really good anime. And I'm just gonna tell you the honest truth about this anime is that it and I'm gonna say it again because a lot of people don't realize this. The fact that they went off the deep end by bringing up the whole incel culture and all this other stuff, they should have never done that. But they did anyways because they wanted to, bring up the controversy of those issues, to bring up the conversation. Look, I don't really have an issue with it, but the thing is, I watched the anime, and the issue that the guy that I watched in this anime was the issue of trust. That was the issue that the guy had. Why should I trust you if you can't trust me type of situation? That was the issue with this anime, because he lost all respect for humanity. That's why he is upset with humanity. Therefore, he's stuck in another universe where he's alone and trying to figure out himself. And the fact that he had to buy a slave to do that, it was the only way to survive, because he can't trust anybody. And the guy that explained to him in the storyline, and the reason why he did this is because, one, he needed someone that knows the land, and he couldn't trust anyone. And the guy told him, look, if you want to buy this slave, they're cursed, magically cursed to serve you. They can't lie to you, and he wants someone that he can automatically trust as easily as possible. And that's the point of the story, what he was trying to do. And sometimes some heroes go down the dark path, and this is the point of this whole anime series, that sometimes some characters have to go down the darker path in order to reach the top. Some heroes do it, some heroes don't. And that's what the fact that he, even though you want to bring up, okay, so Nafune is completely uninterested protagonist 70% of the time, and I a complete tool 30%. Well, obviously, we weren't watching the same show then. Sure, he was a regular run-off-the-mill guy, uninteresting protagonist in your dictionary, 70% of the show. But to characterize him as a complete tool for reacting to the very human manner to the BS thrown at him, the shopkeeper and the bar drunks, for example, it's completely disingenuous. The show is a little attention to you to actually paid to the character and their motivations. But hey, keeps the narrative going, am I right? Because this is the type of thing that goes on in anime. And I have to agree with this person's point because, okay, so are you arguing that anyone who hasn't read the entire source material ahead of time is not able to form a critique or the adaptation? No, but I take issue with AN's staff's mischaracterizes of the series. If characters and even the author herself, specifically so you can push your political agenda where it isn't warranted, the case in point 65% of your reviews revolve around rape accusations that used as a plot device with only passing mention of the show's stellar production value and great music. Your impression of the character are unconvincing and clearly betrayal of your political biases against the show, to quote, which is true because all I've been reading in this whole thing, they don't mention the music, they don't mention the production value, which I would do in my reviews, because even though I don't write them perfectly well, I do mention that they do make a style, like especially the colors, the vibrant background of it, even the style itself was pretty good. I do agree with this guy's point about the anime because of the fact that you fail to mention the vibrant color of the animation style. You fail to talk about the production value of it. You just blatantly talk about nothing but political ideology right there, incels. No one wants to hear that. Most people want to hear if it's really worth watching. But instead, you go into your political ideology to talk about this. First and foremost, the important thing is worth mentioning that the false rape accusations, you spend most of your whole article talking about that issue. You don't talk about the production value. You talk about, this is how I feel about it. You spend most of the time not talking about the production value of the animation, the style that they try to do, or anything. You just keep talking about the whole thing. That's why people are upset with you about the issue. That's why I got to give this guy a point for this. I'm going to go to this Reddit page and I'm going to say something about it. Because this is like several days ago. So I'm going to go to this old page and see what they say about it. Because all they did in this Reddit page was talk about some stuff. When a big budget anime is aiming for a massive audience, there's an increased number of places where you expect a shameless practice. Believe the accuser method of dealing with sexual assault. People have been denied it. Okay, so you're basically throwing that off the deep end. Looking back at your review particularly, I believe you, and given that Nick's review is one of the most specifically targeted, I'm going to have to disagree that he is not making a definitive declaration statement when you attack the author's character. You attack the point of view the entire series is coming from, which is something that is going to persist later in the episode. Now, let me see if I can find the guy in question. Sure. Numi suffers from a very heavy metal trauma, lost his feeling of taste, literally cannot trust women unless they are his slaves and incapable of feeling romantic thoughts. One of your close friends went through the hell and you think like that? Sorry, but you are really a horrible person. You're seeing your tweets and your retweets of false accusations only confirms this. And a lot of people in the anime community are not liking this. Well, it's inherently contradictory to the sense that you believe that, yes, it's generally false accusations are rare, but the few are true, unfortunately, grease in the cogs of justice, greater amount of sexual assault victims. And this is something that dictatorium of empathy, your own circle of individuals, a policy of detached level. It can only be with regards to attitudes towards poverty, etc. It would make him a shitty person, no less, with my stingless paying taxes, given chastity and insensitive to hate towards the poor. Can't break the woman can do nothing wrong narrative, eh? Let's see here. Load other fucking shit. It turns out other people are a big fan of false accusation against men, even like to make jokes about them too. Their Twitter reads especially like you expect someone who uses the buzzwords would too. I'm shocked. Why barely falsely accuse a man of rape? Because he's victim blaming. Did you read it? Yes. Had you and Nick actually bothered to go through the source material, you know Mind's behavior is actually deep rooted in racism, religious fanaticism, rather than the misogynist cliches and tropes. So you claim it is. But nope, you gotta keep the narrative going. And a universal justification does not prevent people from discussing such behaviors in time and text in the first place. An only comment you're responding to literally says, based on a first impression, not including the source material. Why should such behavior exist in the text? We have such, like, this is the Bible, even if an old idea. It's pretty big hill. So you're arguing that anyone who hasn't read entirely the source material ahead of time is not able to form a critique or adaptation, or rather it would be normal for viewers to form. Okay, I give you an honest answer. In the day of age, anyone armed with an internet connection and YouTube channel, an opinion can critique. In relation to the adaptation, I believe you cannot provide a good review without taking into consideration its source material, especially those that come with the anime adaptation existing in light novels and manga. This guy's really trolling. I'm not saying all reviewers need to read entirely the source material before posting a review, but if they choose not to read the source material, they should not be posting observations like, but the author isn't just angry at women. His bitter paranoia extends basically to everyone around him. This is true. No, so you're arguing who has it? Okay. Now, if it is completely uninterested, okay, here's the other one. That's where I'm going to give him the vote up because he deserves that vote up. The purpose to preview the guide to judge the show based on the first episode insisted that people read the entire source material before reviewing anything misguided at best. Mine isn't a real person. She's a fictional character in the work created by a real person who reflects how the person sees the world. Who reflects the person? Okay, so you're saying J.K. Rowling thing is hidden society of mages exists. So you're going to, by going by this story, which means the author likes that. I guess it's like killing a dog then. Stop rating the whole season. Okay, just stop rating the whole season because of one episode. That's just dumb. Wait for the last episode, then do it. I found your review about the first episode of Bunny Girl Senpai. You gave it a 2 out of 5 as a joke. And AN is forcing you to rate the whole season based on one episode, which is true. Nobody is reviewing the whole season based on one episode. It's very explicit to the not doing. We're giving it our impression of one episode. That's it, which is true. Okay, what editorial direction of your site you work at said that Twitter contradicts this? He clearly has not read the novels and has already made his opinion based on his hearsay of himself had bothered to check. His ill-informed opinion on either already been diluted by the rest of the staff has simply been replicated to anyone who else have written about it. There's nothing wrong with giving an impression on the series' first episode. going in blind, but you are the most certainly did not. I think people would just like some honesty. Just say you all heard about the reputation of the original light novels and influence your respective of response to reviewing Shield in the first episode. Don't pretend that you all somehow reached the same conclusion from just watching the show blind. It's clear you didn't. It really, because Nick Kramer is reading a lot of the author's entire character and perceived the politics and worldview more than actually reviewing one episode of the show. To call the author and the people who might enjoy the show misogynistic incels who have problems with women is not impression of one episode. That's it. That's exploiting the whole a lot from the very little, using his personal bias and politics to fill in the blanks. I'll be more than happy to simply buy this. But, I actually didn't really like this at all. But I do agree with a lot of these people for what they're saying on the anime thread. Because they really are upset with him about this. And Kick the Beckett just really, really made himself look like the bad guy here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you people about the rest of the views about what happened. Mistaken about something. The existence of false rape. Okay, this is something that I don't like. Spoiler: false rape accusations result of a man, the king, and a bunch of bigoted zealots. The Church of Three Heroes, who instantly run by a patriarchy, getting together to assert the queen's power while she's away. She comes back. She lights into them the strips of them of their power and mockery of monarchy, which is honestly pretty fucking feminist plot if you ask me. Not to mention the major two MCs relationship spoiler working to heal the misogyny that built the Shield hero by proving that it was an isolated incident. I haven't read the spoilers, but this is really gets me about the kinds of articles. In the first episode of Nofumi got falsely accused of rape, but AN and other writers like them immediately jumped to the gun and assumed that the only episode of false claim is relevant, and they're making judgment calls on plot threads when the series hasn't had any time whatsoever and actually follows through with said plot thread. It blows my mind how many critiques can be watched in one episode of running up series. They think their view plot lines are clearly integral in the story, and if anything, it's less than half baked. A false rape claim can never be fully externally written, wrapped it up in over a course of 45 minutes, while setting up many other plot threads as well. It seems certain people think the outcome of philosophy and details should be clearly outlined in minutes and mentioned. I can take any critique who doesn't actually read or watch more than an introduction to the subject of criticism seriously. I like to know the author was ever interviewed for his inspiration for this story. It sounds like he might have had a false accusation raised against him in school and couldn't be proven, and lost a few friends if he did. Similar to Watamoto, the semi-autobiographical, could have started with him recounting his mistakes of his youth. It isn't that the author of the Shield hero is a woman. Yeah, spoiler. Glad to read the spoiler. I tried to get into the manga, but it put off by how hateful MCs was, though it's gonna stay in the direction of extremely bitter, angry revenge fantasy. Something that I can give another shot. His character arc revolves around becoming a better person from the point that sounds very worthwhile. It's far from the only thing any publication that writes for wave of feminist gibberish is missing. Replying to my own comment to keep things compartmentalized. Ann's Nick Kramer or Bo Duh. The whole plot is based on false accusations, and everyone immediately believes something virtually never happens in real life, which is only an academic that minds a paranoid misogynist. While keeping in mind, I'm not starting a rape. I'm not starting that the rape doesn't go underreported, but actually does happen. If you've seen the first episode of SUY, okay, God. I have nothing else I did. I agree that content, and I agree with the content of the article. I've been to a lot of feminism and anime panels at various cons, but a lot of them are well made about topics of history of feminism in Japan and talk about what specific shows discuss feminism subtext. Okay. Do you know about let's see, Ranma 1/2. Okay, this is, to be exact, Tokyo thing, but I lived in Japan for a couple of years and spent most of my weekends in Kyoto, Osaka, and Kobe. This is not the case. A few years back, I visited a friend working in Tokyo, giving the same advice to the trade. Keep in mind the high groping rail handhold makes hands. Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake right there. When I lived around Tokyo, in the case either, but most of the people were doing something that would hang on. Very crowded. Now let's see. That's something else about the whole rape train academic that happened in Japan. That is sort of a situation in Japan that I don't like to talk about. Okay, I'm fairly certain Anime Network does this kind of stuff because it gives them a massive amounts of traffic every season. I've tried to post on their forums a while, but I was banned after I corrected one of the writers when they made a frequent mistake on their reviews of getting details wrong, purposely misconstruing events. I kind of get the impression they don't particularly care or enjoy the boost of web traffic in the controversy. I'll give you that one, Terrence Von Gooberson. I'll give you that one. Okay. If you look into the staff, you notice they are political extremists, just like Politaku writer. Politaku writer. Do you know that Politaku writers are just a parody? I know what Politaku is. They're a bunch of parody. They're like the left parody of the left nut parody of extreme political sites. It's the same site that banned the word trap from their forums. They're a complete joke. Also, the same site that filters the word SJW into Shonen Jump Weekly. Oh God, that's funny. I didn't know that. Hilarious. I'll give him that one. Shonen Jump Weekly. I would enjoy having made it into a browser extension or something, but it sounds really entertaining. From what I've seen, AN is very much I can't do no wrong kind of run website. It's not unexpected and disappointing that the type of clickbait journalism is how the news sites have to survive. Nah, it's just the entire staff of far lefters on their own site, one giant liberal safe space. I lean left on a lot of issues, but I generally hate the pro-censorship movement of the far left parts of the internet. It has been pushing for the last few years. Without a doubt, AN and the anime community's version of it. Oh, shit. Happy Science. Oh yeah, they're bringing up the whole Happy Science controversy at AM, where they took the money to advertise an anime called Happy Science. Not to mention they received money from a notorious Japanese cult that even promoted the movie from them. Actually, the cult is season 1 of MP 100, based on Happy Science. Yes, they really like to troll on this thread. Let's see. In the end, taking down the original post after they called out Lizardman propaganda. Yes, I am blocked for life on this one. Yes, you are blocked from Twitter Pancake because of the fact that I can't read their stuff. That's how bad they are right now. And it kicked. This is the type of thing I see in there, and this is the type of criticism I have to point out about anime. They block criticism when you disagree with them about something, and I don't really say anything harmful to the anime community as a whole, but I point out my disagreements about these animes. That's how bad it is with a lot of the stuff that happens, and a lot of the stuff that does happen in communities. Like, I don't really think a lot of these people, like, I go to AAN. Yep, let's see, anime. Now, you can tell that Anime News Network has a lot of these issues. The official Twitter account for Anime News Network. Now, do I have a problem with anime in particular? No. Nice to take out a new delivery place at a lunch. Let's see. Let's see. Why the heck did they give me MSR headphones? Tired of getting your ears hurt while watching MSR videos? Try Sleep Instagram. Yes. Yes, and this is what I have to say about this. I keep an open mind when I watch anime and try to carefully understand a story. If people are going to overreact to something like this, they need to really figure out reality. What is this Jet does now? After Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, there's literally memes of this thing going on. It's okay. Everything's alright. To all the idiots out complaining about Shield Hero, this is literally what happens as soon as he gets Repetalia. Y'all are all actual scum in the anime fan base. She was sold as a slave. I bet she has a harsh past. Wait, this time I don't get it. What is so bad about Shield Hero? What the comments are coming from a legit don't understand right now. What? Okay, and that's why I dislike Shield Hero. The recent Crunchyroll promoting this piece of shit. Now, Internet loudmouth, not clearing my throat, tweeting in Dutch sometimes. Yeah, can't take him seriously. So just watch Shield Hero. I'm gonna have to make a video on this, and not a positive one. Who loves animation, anime, video games, loud music, avatar made by Yankee Tumblr. Okay. I love to drink with you. Not trying to be a fictitious, but change the lines to fit the Western audience due to already being backlash from the sub. I saw the pre-air of Shield Hero anime, hoping it would be toned down the bad from the novel, but it didn't. Don't watch Shield Hero. Revenge Power Fantasy are hard to pull off the best circumstances, let alone when you involve false rape accusations. My God, these people are really going off on this like it's not even their business. The Rising of the Shield Hero opening. Let's see. When the Shield Hero anime comes out on the 10th, it better not see anyone saying it promotes slavery and misogyny behavior. The same fuckers who didn't say anything about Komoria or Ancient Magus Bride will be trying to attack this show. Back off, you hypocrites. Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. Okay, anti-Twitter, you will stop the Shield Hero controversy. Just go with the flow. Hashtag okay. Look at her quivering in fear and felt the wave of fantastic wash over me. I imagined that other women quivering in fear just like this, and it made me feel great. This is a bit too much. I have faith in the character arcs, but the dark turn for this MC. I really do speak out readily about the nonsense, but everyone who's calling Shield Hero things like controversial needs to use critical thinking. The woman is evil. She does evil things. Are people saying false accusations shouldn't be portrayed in anime? Of course I do, Shield Hero. You know, I don't really have a problem with this anime. And frankly, Shield Hero... You could please testify once more for us. The sexual assault punishable by death. And this story is basically that. I wonder when you would show your true colors, you fiend. From the moment I laid eyes on you, I knew you would bring nothing but trouble. Since I've got 13-year-old, God, I hope there are 13-year-olds that are actually an adult. Fanboys rising, whining to my mentions. Anyway, the same anime still had come out. Let's take a look at why it's so objective. I fucking knew she was going to betray him. She just had that look in her eyes. I was thinking of passing on Shield Hero this season, but the fact that Twitter outrage mob is going off on this episode, it might be a sign it's worth watching. I kept an open mind when I watched the anime and tried to carefully understand the story. If people are going to overreact to do something like, yeah, that's mine. A lot of people don't realize that's the manga for you. How I feel about Nafumi's piece so far, Shield Hero. Now, I actually really do like this anime because it does tend to. Okay, at 3:30, if you check out our premiere episode of Shield Hero, hope to see you there. I actually really think this anime is okay for one reason. I think it looks pretty good. It does tell an interesting story about a hero who has fallen in hard times and has to deal with the situation accordingly. And I know that Anime News Network had an issue with this anime, and I'm going to say this right now. I think this anime could have done better. And yes, it was an interesting story. It tries to borrow this MMO element to it that tries to explain a story. And after looking at the drama that happened, I think the problem with this story is it does tell an interesting story in itself. What he has to deal with. And he has to overcome it. And a lot of people who talk about this anime and talk about how bad the anime is based on they didn't like this part of this anime, and they didn't talk about the production value. They didn't talk about the animation quality. They didn't talk about any of that stuff. When I looked at this anime, there was some mistakes about this anime. There was some animation mistakes that I noticed when they did the opening of that anime. There was some animation mistakes. And sorry, my dog is just bothering me. But I really did like this anime for what it's worth. The music was okay. The sound effects were okay. Everything was perfectly good about this anime, especially the coloring. It created a really interesting story. And I understand that a lot of people had their issues with it because the hero had to suffer. The hero had to suffer for this, but I actually really did think this anime was okay. After watching the first episode of this anime, a lot of animes could come at a and a lot of people think it's a really bad anime. I'm glad that this anime actually started a conversation because it kind of showed how Anime News Network mistreats its audience. It shows that they don't really give a shit about what they review. They don't take into consideration what they review as an anime. They go off on these deep tangents complaining about the issues they had with this anime and not talk about the quality about this anime. They didn't talk about the production or the a lot of the things that made this anime interesting, or why they didn't like the certain production techniques that they used. You know, like especially in this one, you may notice that there was a lot of stuff, and I remember like the body over here. You may notice a lot of the arms were offset right here. You can see right the muscle is a little bit. I think he was trying to turn his muscles around, but it's a little bit of a mistake right there. It like overshadows it. Now, they could have talked about the mistakes that were made in this whole anime, but instead, you know, he didn't notice that. And there was a lot of mistakes, but the quality of this anime was pretty good. Now you can see right here, the hand right here, that's a little bit of an animation mistake right there. Because I noticed a lot of the animation quality mistakes right here. Like this is kind of like over angled, because you could tell by the facial structure and everything is over angled. And I could easily review this anime and show you a lot of stuff that they took pictures of. Now, it does demonstrate an interesting story. Even though it wasn't like the best anime, but it definitely was an okay anime. But a lot of people talk about these animes and they don't bring up the criticisms that actually do matter. And it's like they don't really give a shit because they bring up these criticisms that they don't like, and bring up political issues, and then bring up incels, then bring up all this other stuff that brought it into a negative light in the conversation. But when people try to disagree with them, they tend to silence and ban people for that. And this is the type of problems that Anime News Network try to do. When you bring up an interesting conversation and prove a point to them and then correct them on certain issues, you ban them for that when you point out those issues. And that's why Anime News Network isn't the type of community that you shouldn't be going to. There's other websites that can do better than this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them can compete against this, because the way they try to treat this situation in a very harsh manner is ill-professional and very lacking in what they're doing. This is the type of stuff that they should never do, especially against especially when they try to review an anime or a cartoon or whatever. They should have brought up the animation stuff. They should have brought up a lot of the quality issues in this anime. But instead, they bring up a lot of the stuff that doesn't really matter in the anime, yet they try to bring up the whole thing about incels. And no, you have to understand, in Japan he called himself an otaku. Now mind you, they call them hikimoris or something like that in their culture. They isolate themselves and they can't trust anybody. That's the whole point of this story, but yet they want to bring up all this stuff. And they didn't actually know the source material itself. They just went on with just by one anime, and then they just got upset about it. And took it out on one anime, and bring up all this stuff that had nothing to do with this anime for no apparent reason other than the fact that they were hurt by one particular part about it. And I'm just going to point this out to you guys, that Shield Hero actually is an okay anime. It's not the best anime ever made, but it did try to, bring up a good conversation. And that conversation is, because I actually said this, the issue is trust. That was the part of the storyline that this character, the main hero of this story, was having. Was it he couldn't trust people. He couldn't trust anyone in this world because he entered this world unexpectedly, and you find out a lot of deep stuff that happens in this story. And it's an interesting story in a way that it tells a story. Even if it's not the best story in the world, that you don't like it because it had this in there, oh well, I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't watch this anime. That's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching. Good night, everybody.